How does one man impregnate 50 women in a single night? You think you know Hercules. You know the Disney version, with the catchy songs and the flying horse. You probably even know about the 12 labors, the Nemean Lion, the Hydra, the trip to the underworld. But the ancient poets wrote about a 13th labor that was so scandalous, so absolutely unhinged, that historians and teachers have been trying to hide it from you for 2,000 years. It wasn't a fight with a monster. It was a test of endurance that honestly makes fighting a three-headed dog look like a vacation. Here is the situation. Hercules is young, like barely 18 years old. He hasn't done the famous 12 labors yet. He hasn't killed his family in a fit of madness yet. He's just a massive, incredibly strong teenager wandering around Greece looking for something to punch. He ends up at the court of a guy named King Thespius. Now, Thespius has a problem. There's a lion, not the famous Nemean lion, but a different one called the Cytheronian lion that's eating his cattle. He asks Hercules to kill it. Standard hero stuff, right? But King Thespius has a secret agenda. He looks at Hercules, this son of Zeus, this physical specimen of absolute perfection, and he gets an idea. A really creepy, ambitious idea. Thespius has 50 daughters. Yes, 50. And he decides, I don't just want this guy to kill a lion. I want his DNA in my family tree. I want grandchildren who are part God. So he comes up with a plan that is honestly more disturbing than any monster Hercules ever fought. Hercules stays at the palace for 50 days to hunt this lion. Every night, he comes back exhausted, covered in blood and dirt, and sits down for a massive feast. The king gets him drunk. I mean, really drunk. And every night, the king sends one of his daughters into Hercules' bedroom. Now, here is where the myth splits into two versions, and both of them are wild. In the polite version, this happens over 50 nights. One daughter per night. Hercules is so out of it from the wine and the fighting that he thinks it's the same girl every single time. He never catches on that he's slowly making his way through the entire royal family. But then there's the other version. The version written by Pausanias and Gregory of Nazianzus. In this version, Hercules doesn't stay for 50 nights. He does it all in one night. The king sends all 50 daughters in, one after another, a revolving door. And Hercules? He rises to the occasion. He sleeps with 49 of them in a single night. Why 49? Apparently, one of them refused, and, because Greek mythology is harsh, he sentenced her to remain a virgin and serve as a priestess forever. But the other 49? They all got pregnant. In fact, the oldest and the youngest daughters had twins. So in one night, or 50 nights depending on who you believe, Hercules fathered 51 sons. But here is the part that makes this story actually kind of terrifying. It wasn't just a wild party. It was a calculated breeding program that changed history. Those 51 sons were called the Thespiadae. They didn't just disappear into obscurity, they became a literal legion of demigods. When they grew up, Hercules didn't really play the dad role. He was busy doing his actual labors by then. So he sent them off to colonize the island of Sardinia. They took over the island and built a civilization that lasted for centuries. This wasn't just a dirty story to tell at parties. It was an origin story for an entire culture. We have to talk about why this matters. Why do we hide this story? It's because it clashes with our modern idea of a hero. To us, a hero is moral, restrained, and loyal. But to the ancient Greeks, virtue wasn't about being a nice guy. It was about ability. It was about excess. The Greeks didn't look at this story and think, wow, that's unethical. They looked at it and thought, look at the power of this man. To them, the ability to hunt a lion all day and then satisfy 50 women all night was just further proof that he was divine. It was a biological miracle. It was the ultimate flex. If you strip away this story, you're stripping away the reality of how the ancients viewed the world. They respected raw, unadulterated power. They didn't want a role model, they wanted a force of nature. And that is exactly what Hercules was. So, knowing this now, does it change how you see the hero of Olympus? If we scrub the ugly or R-rated parts of mythology to make them family-friendly, are we actually destroying the history, or just saving ourselves from the uncomfortable truth? Let me know what you think in the comments.